The World Health Organization wants all countries to sign an agreement on handing over the authority to declare a pandemic, procure vaccine and drugs. It would be healthier and safer for humanity to sign an agreement with the Colombian drug cartel. They know all about drugs for sure. During the COVID pandemic, World Health Organization only told lies. It should be declared a terroristic organization.
Is if you have money in your bank account and the new rule is you're not allowed to transact further than 5 kilometers from your home, your card won't work more than 5 kilometers from your home. If they don't want you buying pizza, you can't buy pizza with money in your bank account or with your card. It is complete control, and it solves the taxation without representation problem, because if they want more taxes, they just come take it out of your account. So when the World Economic Forum said it's 2030, you have no assets and you're happy, what I hear is it's 2030, we took all of your assets and you're mind controlled. Okay?
Okay, folks, so this needs to happen more. Okay, so let's, got my Randy Savage glasses here. So let's take a look at this. And this is where this is the direction we need to go. I'm serious. If you are a freedom-loving individual, this is the place that we need to go. We need to ban the WEF and ban the WHO and the UN from our states. Now, in the United States, we do still have a little bit more leverage because there's a bit more sovereignty state by state in the United States than there is within like the UK. And so we do have a little more leverage with this. And I think Louisiana is doing the right thing here. So the WEF agenda could be banned from this US state. The Senate in the state of Louisiana just voted to ban all rules and mandates from the WHO, WEF, and the UN from being enforced. So again, they're trying to make mandates. The WHO especially has been really bad at these pandemic mandates, which is anytime there's some pandemic that they're going to create, okay? Because remember, these pandemics are created by these people, okay? When they create that they would have this mandate that would allow nations to sign over their sovereignty for the rules and enforcement of that to this NGO, this non-government organization, the WHO. Am I a huge fan of government? Not in general, but we do need some form of it. It's just, it needs to be loose. And that at all costs, not handing over any power of government to these non-governmental organizations like the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, and the United Nations. They should have no jurisdiction over national decisions. But they're trying to do that stuff all the time, these little sneaky weasels. So, massive news, and you did not hear about this one on the mainstream media. So he says here, Peter Sweden is reporting on this. It says, Louisiana Senate just unanimously voted to pass a bill that will ban any rules and mandates from the World Health Organization. Now, again, these type of mandates would give them power, like extra national power, to say this supersedes your sovereign government, and we can come in and we can enforce this any way we want. Okay, and we can't have that. No. We need to be in control a little more. They want massive amounts of control. So, any rules, mandates from the WHO, WEF, and the UN, this would ban them from having any, that these mandates could not be enforced. They would not be allowed to be enforced in the state of Louisiana. Every state needs to do this. So he says here, really weird that nobody in the mainstream media is talking about this. Perhaps they do not want anybody knowing about it since they are part of the same agenda. Of course, because we know the media is the bulldog for the billionaires. Who pays their bills? Well, billionaires do. Bill Gates pays for half of what CNN puts out. If you look at the donations he has, yeah, this is what they're doing. And this definitely needs pushback. So let's take a look at the text in the bill. It's essentially this. The WHO, the United Nations, and the World Economic Forum shall have no jurisdiction or power within the state of Louisiana, No rule, regulation, fee, tax, policy, or mandate of any kind of the World Health Organization, United Nations, and the World Economic Forum shall be enforced or implemented by the state of Louisiana or any agency, department, board, commission, political subdivision, governmental entity. Boy, you got to do law speak here. Governmental entity of the state, parish, municipality, or any other political entities. They're really trying to cover all bases because these sneaky damn NGOs sure have a way of creeping in there and starting to subvert national laws and state laws. So there we have it. This should mean that they are rejecting the UN Agenda 2030, which is horrendous. For example, the WHO pandemic treaty that is being worked on right now also won't have, won't have any power in the state. Did you know that Bill Gates recently donated a whopping $1.27 billion towards funding the United Nations Agenda 2030 global goals? Yeah, the global goals that a minority of people won't have to live under. Yeah, that minority will be these people like Bill Gates. Rules for thee, not for me, that type thing. Okay, these are the rules for the rest of us. We are determining what's best for you. I know you didn't vote on it and we never gave you a say on this, but we're just going to go ahead and have you do this because it's the best for me. Bill Gates, I think he has this delusion. He thinks it's good for humanity. It is not good for humanity. It is good for Bill Gates, and that is it. That is the one person who is, and remember, this guy is a narcissist by trade. He's been a narcissist in business. He has been a narcissist in the way he does his philanthropy, which is just a cover for getting away with his desires. Philanthropy, make no mistake, it was a way for elites a long time ago. It was invented for elites to get this populations to stop rising up against them. Okay, and I've explained this before, but the thing is it was invented back in the times of Carnegie because people and the banking systems, people were starting to complain about big banks. And they were like, oh, we can't have this. These big banks they're draconian. Why are there's all these fees and fines? And this is back in like the early 1900s. So they came up with philanthropy, and that was a way to go, hey, the people really hate you. So just like donate $1 million here and there to some charitable organization, and then they'll get off your back. Okay, so that's the essence of, very simplified, but that's kind of the essence of it. Philanthropy was invented so people would look the other way, would go, oh, wait, all these people in charge, these elites, they're all just wonderful angels from heaven and they're benevolent. No, these are malevolent forces. Bill Gates being number one right now. Bill Gates' push for the digital ID, this is his wet dream, with $1.27 billion donation to Agenda 2030 goals. So this bill needs, okay, so, and this too, with the digital ID, this has to do with like what we saw, the horrible things we saw during the pandemic, where you would have a digital passport. It was a social credit system. You would run on that digital ID would lead to digital money. You could be identified anywhere you went. There would be constant surveillance on you. You would have a digital passport. Your digital ID would contain any information like, are you vaccinated? Things like that. Oh, if you're not vaccinated or you haven't had 4 boosters or more, you cannot fly from the United States to Canada. You cannot fly from California to, say, New Jersey. You can't fly from Georgia to Colorado. That's the type of stuff it would do. It would immediately flag you. It's a way to constantly flag people. And that's how also the CDBC, the Central Digital Bank Currency, would work too. It's like a coupon system. Yeah, you would make a money, but if you made $1,000 in a paycheck, depending on their little climate control stuff, you could go to the store and buy $20 worth of something. But if some of it included meat, they'd be like, sorry, we know you have the money for that, but you can't buy that this week. So sorry, you can't buy it, even though you have the money for it. So it's pretty draconian stuff. The bill still needs to pass the House and the governor. If that happens, then we have seen something truly historic. A state standing up and saying no to the WEF agenda, a state standing up and saying no to Agenda 2030, a state standing up and saying no to the WHO pandemic treaty. Will more states and possibly countries follow suit? He says, I cannot find any mainstream news outlet that is reporting on this massive news. So anyway, that's Peter Sweden who says that, and let's see some comments. This is fantastic. Hopefully the start of a trend. Well, I hope so too. We'll see what happens with this. But let's see if there's any, I'm going to see if there's any more commentary on this as well. I just barely got this, obviously, because I'm wrapping my head around it a little bit too. But if we can start doing this to a wider extent, we can have more states doing this. That would be absolutely fantastic. So what is the 2030 agenda? Okay, so it says, well, part of that agenda too is, like I said, it's like things like there would be this push for like cars, like no more cars. If they've tricked you into thinking that you are going to be driving an electric car, you're wrong. They're not planning on building an infrastructure to handle this. That's not part of the plans. Why do you think they haven't done anything? They've built a lot of EV cars, but they're not really building much of an infrastructure. And what they have is poor. This is because they don't have a plan for this. The plan is that you won't be driving anything. You will not have the independence of just being able to leave your house, because that's too much freedom. Driving on the road, that's too much freedom for these guys to handle. And if you want a backup on this, watch what Jordan Peterson says about this too, about how cars and mobility are the enemy of these agendas. Agenda 2030 is a centralization agenda. It's a way to have a social credit system that if you want to fly on a plane, you will have a tracking system that says you've flown to 2 places this year, you can't fly anymore. I know you have the money to fly, but you can't, because that will be count against your carbon footprint. They'll have things like that. So, for example, so they have this thing as part of their campaign for this digital ID. Okay, and so this is what it says. It says, with that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation 1.27 billion commitment to advance global goals, it's always nefarious. 17 of these are outlined. These goals are outlined in the UN Agenda 2030. As part of this, a ton of funding is going to push for global digital ID. Oh, Bill Gates talks about this all the time. Yes, you read that correctly. And he says, remember when that was called the crazy conspiracy theory? Yep. A whopping $200 million will be spent to expand global digital public infrastructure. What does this mean? They say that this funding will be used to help countries with, among other things, public health threats, pandemic recovery, and of course, climate change. Yep. I've come down with a case of climate change. I can't go to work today. I'm just going to use that for every excuse from now on, see how much I can get away with. What exactly is this global digital public infrastructure? Well, let's let Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation tell you. It means payment systems and digital ID, among other things. Just see the whole text from their website. It says, this funding will help expand infrastructure that low and middle income countries can use to become more resilient to crises such as food shortages, public health threats. These will be all artificially created by governments as well and NGOs. Make no mistake, the NGOs will create the problem and then they will swoop in with some sort of solution, which will be draconian. Okay, think of the Wuhan labs. Yeah, that was created and it was made resilient through gain-of-function research. That was no accident. It wasn't just some random pandemic. None of it was random. They will be creating these food shortages. Bill Gates, he knows this. They will be creating the public health threats because guess what? Bill Gates already did it with the COVID and climate change, as well as to aid in pandemic and economic recovery. This infrastructure encompasses tools such as interoperable payment systems, digital ID, data sharing systems, and civil registry databases. There you have it. Bill Gates is pushing hard for this. Why do we need, though? He asks, why do we need digital ID in order to help with public health threats and climate change? It certainly couldn't be that there are plans for some kind of climate change passport tied to your digital ID. Well, that would just be a crazy conspiracy theory. No, it's not. They have something called the Goal Keepers. This is their campaign to accelerate progress through sustainable development goals or global goals. This means you will be poor and we will restrict food production. We will centralize all of this to a few people, and then you will be living in a tent. What is the global goals? And you think this is a joke? This is no joke. If you can go, oh, 10 years ago, I hear this a lot. I couldn't have imagined what's happened in the past 10 years. You know, if you talked to me in 2000, I would have never possibly imagined that they would have done the things that they have done, especially during the pandemic. So what makes us go, why wouldn't they do it now? Why wouldn't they do worse? Of course they are going to do worse. What is this global goals that they're speaking of? It is actually the goals outlined in UN Agenda 2030. On their website, there's talking about the government should use digital payments to women in order to achieve one of the goals on 2030, namely gender equality. I bet digital ID will come in very handy about that. Let's see. Give the new agenda. Oh, and then he continues. Okay, so I'm gonna just start there because the rest I have to pay for, and I haven't paid for it. So I paid for some other people, but I haven't paid for some of his as he continues. But I highly recommend look at Agenda 2030. Got to look at it, folks. If you want, unless you want to live in La La Land, Agenda 2030 is truly it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare of 1984. Go ahead, call me a conspiracy theorist. I just don't give a shit anymore. I don't care. Because if you thought, like I said 10 years ago, that COVID wouldn't happen and they would do the things that they did, like Canadian truckers freeze their bank accounts, you said, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. They'll never do that. And look what they did. So what is it? They say the difference between conspiracy and the truth is about 6 months. So don't be shamed by people who are going to call you out on this. Call them out on it and say, okay, fine. I'm not going to have to sit here and defend it. I'll just say, go do your research. If they say, what's the source? Go look it up. Go look it up on the UN's website and you will see this. So yeah, of course, here we are with the digital ID, which is a way of just monitoring all types of things. It's a social credit score. It's that if you are advancing certain things, if you eat so many crickets a month, it could be anything that they want it to be because they'll have digital access to your life, to every aspect of your life. So they will control how you live. If you obey them, if you restrict your speech, if you censor yourself, then okay, then you'll be able to probably have better living conditions. But if you want to use your free speech, then they'll use your digital ID and go, nope, you don't have enough social credits because you didn't do what we said. Social credit score is based on draconian obedience. Okay, it's not based on freedom of speech or principles of freedom at all or liberty. Freedom of speech, the right to defend yourself, the right to protect your family, the right to privacy, none of this plays a part in this. This is an extra national thing which is leading towards this one world government. It is. It's the one world government that they so desire. That's why they're letting so many people in the country right now in the United States because, and I bet many of them are actually United Nations soldiers, okay? Because when the next pandemic comes, they'll just turn the guns on us and go, oh, we're already here and you're in prison now because the United Nations sent their military in. So that's why the United Nations is funding so much of what's going on at the border with our money, actually. With the money that the United States gives them, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation money. So anyway, let me know what you think, folks. I'm just initially going through this, so I'm sure you can add some more aspects to this, but hopefully this gets you started kind of thinking. If you're not aware of Agenda 2030, I've been for a while, but this might get you a little taste for how nasty it is. So anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and I appreciate it. And please put a like on the video if you liked it and comment below. Let me know your thoughts. So anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.